Hello, everyone, and welcome to Philosophy 201, Introduction to Philosophy, here at the fall term at Gogebic Community College. This is Dr. Patricia Gross, and I am here to help you out. Just to go really quickly, you can see that I'm in office hours right now as I'm recording this, so my Zoom is down there. But okay, so let's look at the course website. Here's the course website, Introduction to Philosophy. We had week 1, and this is week 2. Let me put my phone on silent. That's crazy. Okay, so in week 2, for Monday, you're reading Plato's Apology 1 through 5, and for Wednesday, you're reading Plato's Apology 6 through 15. You have a discussion board assignments, several discussion board assignments that are listed here. We'll go over those in a little bit. And also on this page are the slides. What you don't see, of course, are the lectures. I'm actually going to cut this lecture up into 2 lectures because the last one was a little long. And the lectures will look like this in the first, looks in the first week, where it'll just be right at the top, and it will say week 1, lecture 1, or I'm sorry, week 2, lecture 1, week 2, lecture 2. Okay, so let's get started. Today I want to go over several things, apart from the apology, and the first thing is just how to send me an email. So I've got some do's and don'ts. Again, my email address is patriciag@gogebic.edu. And so don't email me to ask me what you missed in class. That's a weird thing to email someone for an online class anyway. But if you're curious what you're missing, look at the syllabus, look at the syllabus, look at the syllabus. Ask your classmates, look on the Canvas page, and then ask me, right? And also, don't assume I'm out to get you, and please don't write me any nasty, threatening emails, because if there is a mistake, for example, I gave you an incorrect grade or something like that, was probably just a mistake. So just don't assume the worst. But I always give people a chance to walk it back a little bit if they send me a nasty email. Everyone gets one. Okay, do email me to set up a meeting outside of class. Right? So if you want to meet outside my office hours, let me know. Do email me with any questions, comments, or concerns about any course-related assignment or text. Do email me with your homework. Oh, hello, come back. With your homework attached if you know you'll be late or absent. So this isn't relevant. This is from a different video. Do email me with appropriate or funny articles, images, and videos that are related to class. Sometimes people send me pictures of their animals, which I totally approve of. Do reread your email to make sure that it's clear. Some examples of what it might look like. Don't write something like, print please, what did I miss in class, right? But then you can say something like, dear Professor Gross, I am in your Introduction to Philosophy class that meets blah, blah, blah. Sincerely, mixed students, or I don't know why I wouldn't delete that, but I do. Okay, so this is the kind of email I do want to see. This is the kind of email I don't want to see. Excuse me. So let's review what was discussed last time. In this video, you're going to notice that there's a lot more notes at the bottom. I decided to start writing a few more notes down here to help assist you as you're going to look at these slides later on. And as you know, again, the slides are available right here. So arguments are the way we think and reason. When we're reasoning something out, what we're really doing is forming a series of arguments in our heads. Though argument can also mean a dispute in common use, like a fight, that's not the sense in which we mean it when we're doing philosophy. Arguments consist of a conclusion and almost always some premises. The conclusion is what the argument is meant to support as being true. It's the claim that's being made. The premises provide support for the conclusion. There can be any number of premises from 0 to an infinite number, but having more premises doesn't necessarily mean there's more support for the conclusion. The premises and conclusion are propositional statements, that is, they are sentences that express facts, propositions about the world that may be true or false. Okay, so that was last time. Remember, an argument is a conclusion that is supported by reasons, a claim supported by reasons. So we're moving on right now for the next couple weeks to ancient Greece. Ancient Greece is kind of the home for Western philosophy. And the fathers, as we call them, of Western philosophy are Plato and Socrates. You can always tell it's Plato because he's always depicted holding a book or a scroll or something, and Socrates is often barefoot and has his finger pointed in the sky because he's the teacher, right? So Plato wrote philosophical dialogues and speeches about his teacher Socrates. Plato's and Socrates, again, are the fathers of Western philosophy. So in 399 BCE, Socrates was charged with very serious accusations for the time in ancient Greece, and he had to go to trial. And the trial was literally a life or death trial. And at this trial, he had to give his own defense speech. And the defense speech that he gave is what is now known as the Apology. So that's the text you began to read for today. In this case, Socrates is not apologizing for wrongdoing like we would think of. Rather, apology refers to this kind of speech that he's giving, his defense speech. He's been charged with very serious crimes. He's been accused of great crimes against the city of Athens. But instead of actually talking about the charges held against him, as you know from the text, he decides to talk about totally different charges starting on the first page. So this is a quote from the text. "It is right for me, gentlemen, to defend myself first against the first lying accusations made against me and my first accusers, and then against the later accusations and the later accusers. There have been many who have accused me to you for many years now, and none of their accusations are true. These I fear much more than I fear Anytus and his friends, though they too are formidable. These earlier ones, however, are more so, gentlemen. They got hold of most of you from childhood, persuaded you, and accused me quite falsely, saying that there's a man called Socrates, a wise man, a student of all things in the sky and below the earth, who makes the worse argument the stronger." So the old charges is that Socrates studies the things above the sky and below the earth and makes the weaker argument the stronger and teaches those same things to others, basically. So basically they're saying he's a philosopher. Now, though, just before we move on, the worse argument, the weaker argument that's mentioned here is not a positive argument in the sense of I'm going to give you an argument, a claim that I'm going to defend with 3 reasons, right? His is the, quote, weaker argument, the kind of Socratic dialectic, Socratic dialogue, the Socratic method. And this type of argumentation is you make the other person give you an argument, and then you ask them a bunch of questions and basically make them realize that they're wrong. You destroy other people's arguments. So in a lot of ways, it's weaker because you're not giving your own positive argument, but it's also like a more effective argument because you don't have to give your own reasoning. You can just destroy someone else's. Okay, so let's keep going. So Socrates, one of the things he did was annoy the crap out of a lot of people for a long time. He would pester them about how wise they were. And the reason for this, as you know, is because one of his friends went to Delphi, right? At Delphi, the god Apollo was said to speak to an oracle whose words would then be translated and interpreted by a priest. This is what Delphi looks like today. I've actually been there. That's me. So it's really an amazing place in the like kind of the womb of Mount Parnassus. The god Apollo is in the earth and speaks to an oracle, a young woman, who would sit astride a tripod, like a 3-legged stool, above a fissure in the earth where volcanic gases would come up, and she would just say words that didn't make a lot of sense, and that would be interpreted by a priest. So Socrates' friend Chaerephon, who is now dead at the time of the Apology, is said to have gone to Delphi and asked the oracle who was wiser than Socrates. And it turns out that not many people get to actually ask the oracle questions. The place is pretty busy, and so Chaerephon must have donated a lot of money to the priest in order to be able even to ask this question. And so Socrates says that the oracle answered with a riddle. No one was wiser than Socrates. Well, it seems like a pretty straight answer. Oh, Socrates is the wisest man. No one was wiser than Socrates. But for Socrates, he was actually very concerned about this, right? Because the gods never tell it to you straight. He was concerned that he might actually not be the wisest man because he was pretty sure that there's other people who know more than he, like a lot more, right? So what does Socrates do? he goes around to a bunch of people and he really annoys him. And here's the quotation. He says, although many people are wise about some things, those people tend to think they're wise about everything. You see this in, this is me talking. Although many people are wise about some things, those people tend to think they're wise about everything, right? If you're good at one thing, you think you're good at everything. You see this in political campaigns all the time. Why is it that just because someone's a good farmer doesn't mean they're going to be a good ethicist? Just because someone's a good doctor doesn't mean they're going to be a good farmer. You know what I mean? Socrates thinks to himself, when he comes up to people that think that they're better, that they know everything because they know a little bit of something, I'm wiser than this man. It is likely that neither of us knows anything worthwhile, but he thinks he knows something when he does not, whereas when I do not know, neither do I think I know. So I'm likely to be wiser than he is to the small extent that I do not think I know what I do not know. This is often translated as, I know nothing at all, right? I don't know anything. No, Socrates knows plenty of things, but he says that his wisdom is really knowing to shut up, knowing when he doesn't know something, right? Instead of just kind of going forward and putting his foot in his mouth all the time. So, okay. And he figured this out by going to craftsmen, he went to poets, he went to politicians. He found out that what all of these people had in common, again, was that because they had a little bit of knowledge, they thought they knew a lot about everything else, right? So, if you were to learn anything in this class, is that you don't know anything at all. No, I'm just kidding. Is that what you really need to come from this class knowing is that sometimes just because you know a little bit doesn't mean you know a lot. And you know this in your own life. Everyone has that cousin that says he's good with cars, but he's good with like a Honda Civic, right? But he's not good with the Toyota truck, and then he destroys your truck. The same thing with computers. It's like someone that's really good with PCs says, I know everything about computers, and then destroys your MacBook. And so he says that it's these poets and politicians, the people that he was attacking and kind of annoying, basically, sent out these younger people to attack him later. He says, from them, Meletus attacked me, and Anytus and Lycon. Meletus being very vexed on behalf of the poets, Anytus on behalf of the craftsmen, and the politicians, Lycon on behalf of the orators. All of these people that brought the charges against Socrates in the first place for corrupting the youth and not believing in the gods of the city, all were annoyed with him because of these previous interactions he had with other people. So they claim that Socrates is guilty of corrupting the young and of not believing the gods in the gods in whom the city believes, but in new spiritual things. So that's fine. We finally get, after all that, it's not until page 4 that we get to the actual charges. Socrates is guilty of corrupting the young and of not believing in the gods in whom the city believes, but in other new spiritual things. Such is their charge. Let us examine it point by point. So it's page 4 of this text, and we finally got to it. But that's it for today. Wait, actually, no, it's not it for today. Let me do one more slide, and then it'll be it. So we're going to go over this again in a little bit, or well, in the next lecture. But that Socratic method I mentioned, right? On page 5, Socrates begins to question Meletus in his famous dialectic style. And this style is very popular in philosophy, and also like your annoying friend that always asks questions and never provides an answer. So the Socratic method, also known as the method of Elenctic method, or Socratic debate, is a form of cooperative argumentative dialogue between individuals based on asking and answering questions to stimulate critical thinking and to draw out ideas and underlying presuppositions. So on last week, we went over what an argument is, right? The Socratic method is a way of making sure your argument's actually correct. So the conversations that Socrates would get into with people, of which in a week from now we'll be getting into one of them, where he's in a conversation with someone that he actually likes, those conversations involve someone giving Socrates an argument and Socrates questioning the premises, and gives them many, many questions, which you can see starting on page 5 with Meletus, who Socrates is not actually friends with. Okay, so sorry about that. For next time, you'll have to read Apologies 6 through 15 and complete the discussion boards. And for a bonus, write a one paragraph personal response to this question: is the unexamined life not worth living? And that's something you want to write. If you want to do that bonus paragraph, you can email it to me at patriciag@gogebic.edu by Friday at 11:59 p.m. And make sure to read the apology and do the work before you do the bonus assignment. Just to go over the discussion board right before I log off. For Monday, again, read apology 1 through 5, and you have to answer the following 6 reading questions. And then by Wednesday, 11:59 p.m., and for your response post, you're responsible to responding to 3 of your classmates' threads by Friday and say whether or not they're correct, and then use quotations from the text to support your claim, right? If they're correct, if you think they're correct, you can say you're correct because let's look at this quotation. You're not correct because of what Socrates says here, okay? And those responses are due by Friday. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know. And that is it for the Monday lecture. Goodbye.